What's up, Internet? My name's Nerdy, and this is the Nerdy, the Wordy, the Book Club. That's right, we're back with Will of the Many, Part 2. We're going to be talking about the entire second chunk of this dang here novel, as evidenced by me being late, not fully set up. Sorry about that. Hey, everybody. How are you feeling about James Islington's novel? Because I gotta be honest. Gotta be honest, chat. I still like it. I still like it quite a bit. I'm having a good time with it. Really enjoying the way that it looks at modern capitalism through a critical lens using fantasy. I think that's very cool. I also think there are some cracks in the plaster, and I'm excited to talk about those with you all today. How is everybody doing? Thank you for being here live. Let me just pop this out really quick, and we are ready to go. Good morning, everyone. Hello. He was just told by the Reliquia that going to Seuss is her idea, but the Seuss part is not started. Yeah, and then he goes back to school after that, right? And we kind of get through the montage. Well, you know what? Will of the Many Part 2. Let's just kind of talk about the concept of Part 2 really quick. Shark89 says definitely still enjoying it. Maybe having trouble envisioning the scenes in the ruins. Oh, interesting. I really like the scenes in the ruins, actually. They're one of the things that I think still is really working for me in a way that the concept of Part 2 of Will of the Many. Let's just dive in. We don't have a sponsor today. It's just you and me, chat. It's just us. The concept of Will of the Many Part 2 is that Vis goes to school. He goes to the academy, and he has to rise through the ranks. So the academy is set up, and this is where I'm going to start to get spicy. I'm going to get spicy right off the jump, chat. He goes into the school, and the school is set up so that there's class 7, class 6, class 5, class 4, class 3, right? Because that is the structure of the world outside. And the school's goal is, in every way possible, to mimic the world that these people might end up becoming the senators of if they rise high enough, or might end up becoming sexty of in the lower classes. And pretty quickly, you discover the school doesn't make any sense in any way, right? Like, the concept of the school is interesting. The actual function of the school is pure nonsense, right? Like, the idea that you would have people in a school who are all ostensibly in the same class, right? I understand that the hierarchy exists, and I understand the idea that the upper levels are harder, but all of them have similar schedules, and it seems like the only thing they learn about is will, and like what the advanced understanding of will is. It is never brought up that they learn about anything other than will, right? And at any point, any student from any class can move up or down the classes, which puts you in a different class, right? When you go from one class to another class, you move that day, and you just start taking the harder class in the middle of it. And I do understand. I do understand the concept. Like, I get it. But at the same time, can you actually imagine you're taking like Math 101, and you are just really good at subtraction, and so they just start you in like day 6 of Math 201. And then you jump from Math 201 to Math 301 a month later. This is something British schools do. I don't think they do, Arzu, in this way. I don't think that's possible. I was in Math 2 and moved to Math 1. I don't understand on a structural level. After a trimester, sure. Yeah. At a break in the schooling where you are going to come back with a like understandable change in your position, I do understand that, right? The thing here is that the idea that you would have people moving levels all the time based on rank would be so destructive to the process of learning, because you would have functionally no real idea what the people at the top and the bottom of your class know, right? What they've been taught. But particularly because the teachers literally don't meet their students until they level up, right? So like if you have a teacher who has never met Vis before, he comes from 6 to 5, right? Like he does in the section. And he's suddenly taking classes on stuff. He jumps in the middle of a class that he has not taken the last month on. It would be so disruptive. both to the school and to his learning. There's no way that he could fall. Like, you would spend so much time as an institution trying to catch people up to just what you're doing, even moving people down, right? If someone moves down from 3 to 4, or from, that's a tough one because they're both really smart. They're like the top class. They're both really hard. But like from like 5 to 6, yeah, it's only happening to people who prove, those who prove they are ready for it. Arzu, I understand what you're saying, but you have to understand that that person is then missing out on the fundamentals that they might not know, right? It's putting a burden on the teacher one level up to take the time to figure out. It's not as hard as you think. I maybe I am completely blowing this out of proportion. Maybe. Elaine Irving says, yes, it's called sets. You move sets if you improve or struggle, but it's the same curriculum, just harder for top set. But this isn't the same curriculum at all, right? Like the level in difference from will at like the 7th level to even the 5th level is at 7th level, they're learning about nothing. Like they're learning like elementary school shit. And at 5th level, they're already in high school, right? If Vis was performing really well, the idea that he is just going to understand all the fundamentals and be able to just tackle college level will in a 3-month period, it's crazy. The book is helped in this, in my opinion, by the fact that nobody else moves. But that also hurts the book because the book doesn't actually feel like anybody moves except this, right? Like the book is about moving up and down this system, and no one else ever moves. There is no other kind of shifting of the pyramid. It's just this. And so while that does make I understand that Vis is a hyper-intelligent person who is pre-educated, right? I do get that, and that's why he is able to jump from class to class to class, and it doesn't matter as much. But, and so him being the only one that does move kind of works in the sense of it makes me more okay with the schooling part of it. The part of it that felt a little weak to me in this, there's a few parts that felt a little weak to me in this section, but the part of it that felt a little bit weak to me in this section around this is that I just wish that there was more movement. I wish that because moving around the hierarchy is what the school seems to kind of be built around, that it felt like that happened more, or that there was more of a structure for it. The book is like, we're the hierarchy, and this is a system that is about merit and is about this moving around society idea, right? And so much of this section is that it's entirely arbitrary, and it only really happens to one guy. It only happens to our protagonist. Arzu says it's not about merit. No, it is. It is at least on some level about merit in the book, right? Right? Like, it is about merit in the sense that Duterte doesn't want to move Viz, but Ferrier is like, I'm not going to accept someone who isn't Viz because he clearly is the one who's worth it. I understand. I understand that it's not about merit in the sense that there is the subjective element of the individual teacher at your level is the one who decides where you are at in their class. But that is explicitly made out to be that Duterte is not honoring what the system is actually supposed to be. And when the spot opens up for Vis to move from 6 to 5, the professor at 5 is like, well, no, Vis is clearly the only one who should move. So to say that it's not about merit at all isn't really supported by the book, right? There are people in the school who care about the merit of who's moving and who do have an interest in some level of honesty. Jared Poulter says he could have included 1 or 2 lines saying, did you see so-and-so move up? Or looks like Jimmy got knocked down. Oh, who took his place? Yes, Jared Poulter. I completely agree. Just some kind of motion that isn't about death, right? Because we understand that Vis is able to move up once because of a death. And the other times are more merit-based. And, there are different things. But I felt like because the whole school is like, can I get to 3? And there's all these people vying for it. The fact that there was so little movement on the part of the book as a whole, of the school as a whole in this section of the book, just made it feel a little bit like, it felt like the book was moving out of its way for Vis a lot. He's too good. Let's just talk about this. Vis is just too good compared to everybody else. That in a section where, and I don't want to just talk about the things I don't like at the beginning and then talk about things I do like after, but that is kind of what's going to happen. The book is, in this section in particular, so trying to build Vis up as like the single greatest person ever that I found myself losing interest in his accomplishments a little bit. One example is when he's moving from 6 to 5, right? He has to do the sword fight against the dueling champion. And when it's first set up that Duterte is like, hey, you're going to fight this guy with swords. And Viz is like, great, I know sword combat. I trained as a child. That's fine. And then the book is like, that guy is the greatest swordsman of our age in the hierarchy. He is like trained. I was like, oh, sick. This is going to be an interesting fight, right? Like muscle memory and cheating on Vis's part versus this guy who has, not cheating, but like, how is he going to be clever enough to beat an opponent who is as skilled as he is? And then the book was like, and also, we're going to fight using this really cool armor concept that this kid has been training on his whole life and Vis has never even heard of. And I was like, oh, shit. So Vis is going to have to come up with a way to win this fight against an opponent who is better than him. That's interesting. I'm into that. Really into that idea. And then they're like, and that guy is also cheating. And Vis gets 1 night to prepare after he mucks out the stables. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm not interested anymore. Vis's victory now feels uninteresting. Not because it's not a cool scene. It is, right? The armor's really cool. The combat's cool. But I actually didn't need you to build up Vis this much here. It is okay for him to fight someone who can actually land a blow on him. It's okay for the dueling champion of the country to be a genuine threat to Vis and not need the added element of like, and he also beat the guy even though he was cheating and his armor wouldn't lock up. And once the armor was cheat armor, and once it was that this is a dueling champion who also like can be riskier because he can't lose technically in his own mind, and Vis still beats the shit out of him without really taking any damage, I just kind of, my eyes kind of glazed over a little bit. I was like, oh no, this was supposed to be hard. It was supposed to be cool that he won. And instead, it's just another moment to reinforce that Vis has an anger problem. And that's all it is. Because it isn't cool that he wins. It isn't cool that he is just better than everybody else. Even though everybody else here is also from very rich families who have been training for this, right? Everyone else here is very capable, and everyone else here was prepared for this. This isn't the only one who was raised in that kind of lifestyle. And I like that it came down to brawling, and honestly, there's the visual of him taking the armor and cracking the armor against the ground, and the real person's head cracking against the ground 15 feet away is a great visual. Like, that is really, really sick. And if you had just taken out Dutertis trying to cheat, I would have been very into it. Honestly, like I would have been so much more into it. But there's or take out the fact that this guy's a dueling champion, right? Or take out the fact that Vis only has one night to prepare. Or take out the fact that Vis has never heard of the armor. But there's these 4 massive things against Vis, and he still gets through almost unscathed. And that, to me, really weakened the whole scene, right? It really made the entire thing feel cheap. And it sucks because it could have been such an insanely hype moment. And instead, it just sort of felt like we were trying to make Vis into this person who's so good at everything that he's just better than the hierarchy dueling champion at dueling with equipment he's never touched before. He's just smarter than everyone because he read books as a child. He's just better than everyone at the gauntlet. He's just better than. And So the book really relied, for my enjoyment of it, on the mystery, on the ruins, on the stuff Vis does on Reliquia, and we'll get into that. The book relied so heavily on the non-school elements because I didn't really vibe with any of the school stuff, right? I didn't really vibe with the idea of the school and the concept of the school was built for me to think that Vis is really fucking cool. And in doing so, they made Vis less cool, in my opinion. I viewed that scene to be more about the utter unfairness of the hierarchy and how it only matters who's above you if you want to succeed. I understand what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying, but the problem with setting up a system where it's unfair all the time is that I don't buy that it's unfair because no one would want to live in it, right? And what is really great about Calidus as a character in this section is that he establishes the way in which the hierarchy presents itself as being fair. And then the book doesn't live up to how Calidus talks about how smart the hierarchy is about its manipulation of people, right? The book establishes that the hierarchy is really good at hiding the fact that it isn't fair. And then the book makes it really fucking obvious at every step that everything is unfair. And I think that part of it is because this book is maybe for a younger audience, right? And this does feel like it's written towards like high school age-ish. I think there's an element of the book that is trying to really like be ham-fisted about the criticisms of late stage capitalism, and it does a good job of that. It just does it so often that it's hard to believe that anyone would buy in, right? There are no rewards for anybody in this society. Really, right? There's no real I thought it was to display the propaganda, but Dutertis isn't the propaganda, right? Dutertis is going against Viridius and doing this. Viridius would not be okay with him cheating. I don't believe he would. Viridius's goal in all of this, right, has to be that Vis doesn't become the Domitor, but also doesn't have anything to tell Alkiscor that religion is doing anything wrong here, right? There is one of the reasons why the Dutertis stuff kind of didn't work for me is there is a political element to religion's running of this school, and Key score, but he never even got a slap on the wrist for it. We don't know that, Arzu. We don't know what happened, right? Like they don't really move on. I don't think we ever hear about Duterte again the whole time, right? The it's sort of out of sight, out of mind, as far as I can tell. Unless there's a section where they brought up that there was no consequence for it. But the book just kind of moves on from it. The book kind of moves on from everything. One of the reasons why the duel, we hear he's fine and still doing the same job. Oh, sure, but he's like the precept of like the second lowest class in the school. I don't really know. I mean, maybe that he could have been demoted to 7th, but he's not going to get fired, right? He should end up in a sapper based on how this world works, but whatever. So I understand what you're saying. There's no punishment for him, but I think the punishment doesn't really matter because he lost. And that's the unfairness of the hierarchy, right? I do agree with that. But the reality of the school, there has to be a reason why the school exists. And the military families and the government families have to feel like the school is of value. And so Viridius has to present the education at this school as if it is of value, right? He can't, especially with the political climate of the world, be actively harming military and government families. So there has to be a level of competency that is displayed here. And instead, we sort of get a school filled with adults with very petty grudges. And students with very petty grudges. It's a bunch of fucking children. And I don't know. The school stuff didn't work. Let's move on. The school stuff didn't work for me. I really enjoyed a lot of the relationships, though. And I would rather talk about the stuff I like. So we're done. We're done with that. The school was kind of a miss. This moved too quick. No one else really moved. There's so many ways I wish that this had been handled, and this wasn't it. Then, let's go back to getting to the school, though. So we get to the school. We meet a kid named Calidus. He's going to dinner. Viridius is walking Vis around. Viridius is like, hey, Vis, why don't you go with this kid, Calidus? Go get food. And Calidus is like, sir? Sir, I don't think you want me to, do that. Arzu says, which school is better, this one or the one from Fourth Wing? I mean, and Fourth Wing, they at least have a variety of teachers and classes, which means they might get a more well-rounded education. However, at the same time, they also, are encouraged to kill each other. And one thing I will say about the hierarchy is that murder is bad. So, let's go, hierarchy. Let's go, hierarchy. I thought that was a great reveal that killing people is not good. So I would take this school. It's honestly the fact that you can kind of just sit in 6th and do nothing and end up with a great government job for the rest of your life kind of seems awesome. So yeah, this versus getting murdered almost every day is definitely a win for the hierarchy. We meet Calidus. Calidus is a little fucking liar, and he is the smartest kid in the school, but he is hiding it from everyone because he doesn't want to make himself he doesn't want to put his dad in a position where his dad might. I don't buy Calidus's bullshit at all so far. But I also really appreciate Calidus because it is nice to have a character exist almost solely to just be exposition. There are two Caliduses in this book, right? There is the character Calidus, who I think is great and I really like, right? He is smart and he is clever. He is very manipulative, but he's also easily hurt and he has an ego that can be bruised. And he is sort of like the best of Hermione Granger and the worst of Ron Weasley in one person. And I just think that the two sides of him are really fascinating. The other Calidus, that's the one Calidus, right? Great character, really like him. great friend character for Vis to have at school. The other Calidus is a exposition dump machine that just explains things to the audience like it's a textbook. And that Calidus is less interesting, but maybe also as necessary given how the book is set up, right? Like you do need someone to kind of step in and be like, hey, I need to explain a bunch of things or else the ending of this book isn't going to make any fucking sense. So I'm going to explain how the census in this world works. He's got that crush on Belly that cracks me up. Shark, I don't think he does. Based on the moment where Vis overhears him and Belly, I think Belly and him are up to something else, man. I don't know yet. I don't know what's going on with Belly. I think that he has a crush on her as a cover for something else that's going on between them. Anyway, Calidus is like, Viridius, please don't make me bring that kid to the meal. I am going to get my ass kicked today. And Viridius is like, nah, go be friends. So he goes, and this kid, Aiden, who doesn't speak the language well, but somehow is in 6th, which really, really, if you were in 7th, you should really be ashamed that a school that is so much about just answering questions in lecture halls, because that's the only really class they go to is like lecture hall class, and they just sort of answer questions all day, that a kid who can barely speak the language managed to get past you should be a shame on your whole family, right? Like, and Aiden's not stupid. I'm not saying Aiden's stupid, but the dude is answering questions in like monosyllabic words and grunts. Even if the point he's expressing is smart, you should be able to look smarter than him to your teacher. Not to mention the fact that he's not even Katenin. Like, how fucking lazy are you down in 7? Anyway, Aiden is like, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And Vis is like, fuck that shit. No, you're not. I'm going to fight you. And Aiden's like, haha, good luck, bud. And then Vis beats Aiden punches first. But then Vis breaks his nose. Because Vis, brawled in a fucking underground fight ring for 3 years. The dude is ready for his fist fight. And he was used to punching people with like will superpowers. And this kid's like, I'm a normal 17-year-old boy. Let me fight you really quick. So Vis ends up in the principal's office immediately. We later learned that this was set up by Viridius, because Viridius is trying to fuck with Viz or something. I don't really know, man. If I was trying to put on a story that I didn't do any like sinister weird shit to this kid's father's brother, I wouldn't trust that Aiden was going to keep his mouth shut. And I wouldn't immediately do sinister weird shit to you. Like, it seems like Viridius could really benefit from Vis just thinking that nothing happened to Searoar, right? Like, it seems like that would be the best thing for Viridius, is if Vis is just like, I don't know, man, the Prince Palace seems great. I don't buy that he would have done anything untoward towards Searoar. And the first thing Viridius does when he gets to the school is set up an interaction where Vis has to get into a fight. And Vis does find out about that. Not like years later. Like within a few months, Vis is like, oh yeah, the Prince Palace set all of that up. And so Vis is like, oh yeah, the Prince Palace is doing weird shit to my family. Huh. I guess I have to investigate him now. I mean, he was already going to. But like, if I showed up and my dad was like, hey man, that guy killed your brother. He's going to try and do weird shit to you. And I was like, I don't know, Dad. I think you're being paranoid. And then my first interaction at the school is that the principal tried to get me and another student to fight. I'd be like, oh, yeah, that dude is doing weird shit to my family. My dad was right. He probably killed my father or my uncle. And so they end up in the principal's office. And this makes the threefold apology, which is deeply inspired by Wheel of Time, right? I'm not the only one who is like the fucking wait, the fucking Aiel over here. Whoa, 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 whoa. We're going to the threefold land. Where's the desert? Huh? Going to Cold Rock's Hold here to make a proper apology. I'm sure it was just like a naming thing, but I did like the like very subtle reference to the Wheel of Time. Aiden, who falls for this bit of local custom, because again, he doesn't speak the language, doesn't really know what the fuck's going on, doesn't get Vis expelled. Even though I don't really know why he wanted Vis expelled in the first place. Like, I understand that Aiden got his nose caved in. Like, I do get that. But Aiden doesn't have any particular grudge against Viz from the beginning. And also, Aiden knows he threw the first punch. And so his being upset that Viz doesn't get expelled, in hindsight, feels a little weird. If he can get him gone, then why not? Yeah, but he's not disappointed. He's like viscerally angry for like days about it. The people in the first part of this book felt more emotionally mature than the people in the second part of this book. And I was enjoying the emotional maturity of the first part of this book more than I enjoyed the relative emotional maturity of the second part of this book, I think is where I'm coming from. Like, I found the character interactions in part one were far less dramatic for what seemed to be drama's sake than part two felt, if that makes sense. It felt like, and you brought up Fourth Wing, Arzu, it felt like once we got to the school, the book got a little bit Fourth Wingy in a way that the adults all were very simple, and like, you know, every adult has one personality trait and they don't have a lot of emotional depth beyond that. We also move on from everyone so fast that you don't get to know anybody beyond their trope. The kid that I keep wanting to say Calidus. The kid that Vis beats up in the fight is, I maybe mentioned before the fight, but like basically Dutertus is like this person we've never mentioned before. He's a dueling champion. Viz beats the shit out of him. We never hear about him again. These characters like literally come and go in and out of the story in a way where very few of them have any level of depth whatsoever. Obviously, Aiden does, Calidus does, Anissa does, Equa kind of does, and Viridius does. But very few of the other characters, I feel like, are more than a kind of passing glance at what a character is. You know, Dutertus kind of exists like the Severus Snape of the school. If you took out anything about Snape that made him... But again, like, I guess that is sort of like Snape in book one, right? Like, but at the same time, Snape is just one of his, you know what I mean? Like, there's just this weird element of like, Dutertus is this trope. And then once we get past Dutertus, that character's gone. Once we kind of move past people, they're just kind of, we shuffle them out of the book really fast. And so we get introduced to kind of the next problem really quickly. And then we get past that problem. And then we have to get this second section of this book is like constantly introducing things for him to leapfrog. And I kind of felt like I was running a hurdles race. It was just always kind of about the next hurdle and not about the race as a whole. And that's how you lose a hurdles race. And that's how this book kind of lost me in the school stuff. Anyway, positive stuff. So Aiden loses this challenge, and this gets to show off here in a way that I really liked, because this was Vis using the fact that he understands the customs of Keten to win within the Ketenan system, right? And it comes up a lot in this section, the idea that the hierarchy changes you, and that they ask little things of you in order to make you into a different person so that you can fit into the hierarchy. Like, over and over, you'll make all these little sacrifices, and all of those little sacrifices will break you down until you're just kind of another cog in the wheel. And this was kind of one of the examples of this being able to do the opposite, which was use the hierarchy against the hierarchy, use the hierarchy to exist within the hierarchy without having to really mold himself to it, right? It's taking advantage of the weaknesses in the armor of the hierarchy. And the moments where Vis does that, I enjoyed far more in terms of his advancement than the moments where he is just better than somebody else because he trained as a child, right? The "I trained as a child" excuse is used for a lot of his ability. And this is also him training as a child, right? This is him like reading and understanding something, but it really is using their own power against them. And I liked it quite a bit. The way to overcome Iden here was to be more Katenin than him in a way. And that is just, it ties really well into Iden's warning to Vis later. Like, you're here because you were more Katenin than me once, but don't keep becoming more Katenin than me, you know? Vis goes to a grade 7 and he is fucking, they're doing literally like potty training shit. And he's like, I'm out of here. And so he is. And he pops up to 6 where he meets Dutertis. Dutertis doesn't like Vis because Dutertis got fired because of what happened to Searoar, Vis's uncle. That isn't like actually Vis's uncle. Like, Vis was adopted like a month, never met Searoar. And so Dutertis is just pissed at the Telemises because of a suicide that happened on his watch. And so we just kind of end up in limbo for a bit. It's mildly interesting. But what is interesting is Vis, nobody likes him here. Despite the fact that he is the like hero who saved Katen from a terrorist attack, no one is trying to get Vis on their side. And I don't know, if Katenicus showed up to my school, I do think that if I was trying to like be a good senator's son, here's my point. The fact that, and I guess Anissa kind of is the character that does this, right? Oh, I forgot to bring up, this has to do stable duty for like 3 months every night. He misses dinner every night for 3 months. It is crazy. Or 2 months. Crazy punishment. From a political standpoint, being the family that is in a good standing with the savior of the arena feels like a political move people would make regardless of whether they like Vis or Telemis or not, right? And I guess I was surprised there wasn't more jockeying for Katenicus to be present in like the sort of political relationships that this school ostensibly is about building, right? And I understand that Telemis is already like a difficult name. Like and Sargate, as I say that, Sargate says his family name is kind of tainted though because of Elkiskor. Right, but those are the moments where people can be on the rise, right? Starquake, like a tainted family name getting turned around by someone stopping a terrorist attack and saving 100 or 30,000 people die, right? It's like 70,000 people, right? All of those people being saved by him is the sort of thing where another family goes, hey, make sure that you're friends with him because we can use that. We want Katenicus to be our political tool, so go be friends with that kid. That's the kind of shit that I think rich people do. And maybe I don't understand rich people, and maybe they all just hate him. But like, my brain goes, hey kid, hey, come over here, son. When Katenicus shows up, you make sure that you're his only friend. You make sure that kid is spending every holiday at our house. You make sure that when the government is like, we want Katenicus to come meet the fucking leadership, we're going to give him a fucking medal. I want our family standing on that stage. You make sure you are his best friend. And no one tries to do that. Everyone fucking hates him because he punch Aiden in the face, even though these people are also kind of racist and they don't like Aiden. It's a very, it's like the political machinations of this world are like a game of 3D chess that sometimes I felt like I was very on top of. And at other times I was like, no one's doing any political shit right now. These people are all behaving as if they're like because they're like 17, right? This isn't like middle school. This is like the final year of high school. And I was like, somebody fucking get Catanicus to be your family squire or some shit, man. There's political power in the fact that he just stopped a terrorist attack, which we see when they leave, right? Every time they go to the festival, his face is painted on murals. He is fucking heralded as the fucking guy, man. And I just was really surprised there wasn't one. Arzu says the kids are just kids sometimes. I don't think that any of the kids would do this on their own, Arzu. I am in no way making the argument that the kids should be that political at 17. I'm just saying I'm surprised there wasn't a family with a kid in like third or fourth who was like, take Catanicus, especially a military family, right? Who was like, take Catanicus under your wing. The kid, they're painting murals of him, right? He is becoming a hero. We want to be the ones that control that. Our family should control Catanicus. It felt like the book was going to go in that way, kind of, and it just kind of never did. Like, Anissa doesn't seem to have any political motivation towards him. Iroh just hates him forever because his sister, like, yeah. Again, but like the Iroh thing gets into like the emotional intelligence of this book being as low as it is. Iroh's only character trait is you didn't save my sister fast enough because you were too busy saving Ikwa. That's it. Like, I'm not saying that he shouldn't have that grudge, and I'm not saying that it's not interesting that Iroh is like a rival for this. But he's the rival in 3 for Vis, who is not really a character. He is just this one grudge, and it plays out the same way every time. And Iroh's feelings about it don't change over the course of this section. It's months of this, and he's just this one thing. And so he just sort of seems flat. And maybe we get to 3rd, and then he becomes a character. He's just not one now. And so even Vis's goal of being the best in 3rd, getting past Iroh, they haven't established Iroh as anything other than one character trait. And I really hope they do. Like, I really hope they do. What's up, Fabu? Welcome in. But I'm a little worried that because of the way this book has handled the other characters Vis has passed, where they get kind of their one character trait, Vis beats them or passes them in some way, and then they're never mentioned again. I don't have a lot of hope for that, because it'll be different in 3 because he can't really leave 3. But thus far, everyone Vis has overcome has been just bad, right? And like the Detertus, just bad, no redeeming qualities, not really 3-dimensional in any way. Just sort of a flat character who hates Vis because of a thing that has literally fucking nothing to do with Vis. Vis wasn't even a member of the family when it happened. Dutertus is just emotionally a child, despite being like 70. And okay. Then you get fucking the kid that Vis fights. He is just a really good sword guy, I guess. I don't know. I know nothing about him. Vis beat him in a sword fight. Vis beat the literal shit out of him. He broke his fucking skull. That's it. That's all you get of him. And we've moved on. If we never hear about that kid again, I won't be surprised. There is a kid that's killed so that Vis can move forward. Not Pharaon. That's from Zelda. I don't even know the guy's name. This random child gets murdered so that Vis can move forward, and it is never established. It's never established who he is. Like Vis is like, you killed somebody for me, and I'm like, who is Farians? Sure. And so in that way, like, Vis, part of the like making Vis better than everybody and him ascending so fast that kind of gets weird with this particular thing is that like the people he is overcoming, I don't care about. And so him overcoming them doesn't matter to me because I'm like, oh yeah, I guess he's better than that guy. I guess he's better than he like passes through five, and I was like, I couldn't tell you the name of a person in five. You know what I mean? Like and so that element of the book just felt a little weak. And I understand that like the book doesn't need to be the longest thing in the world. It's tough. It's tough because the book is trying to do so many things. And in a way, the school stuff is the least important thing, weirdly, which gets to the barn. And this is where James Islington's writing gets really good. We leave one night. We run out. This is while Vis is a sixth. So he's rooming with Aiden. Him and Aiden run the labyrinth together. As soon as they ran the labyrinth at the school, like literally as soon as they did, I was like, oh, there's going to be a labyrinth they have to run in the future. And the school is just a fake labyrinth test to see who can run the school in the future. And I was like, oh, this is fucking Ender's Game. I'm reading fucking Sorry, I just spoiled Ender's Game, I guess. But if you haven't read it, don't pay for it. The dude, the writer of Ender's Game, apparently not a great person. But it is a book that I loved very much as a kid. And this book wears a lot of its inspirations on its sleeve in a way that I don't feel like harms the book at all. It doesn't feel like anything is specifically too close to anything else, but you can definitely feel the like genres of science fiction and fantasy that James Islington was inspired by in the book a lot. And I think that it wears its inspirations on its sleeve in a really healthy way. Yeah, he makes it his own, Arzu. I agree. And so Aiden and Vis run the labyrinth. Vis realizes that he speaks a dead language that Aiden also speaks, which gets into the like Vis just knows fucking everything. And he is able to beat him and Aiden are able to beat the maze, which six never do. They never actually win because Vis has trained on the gauntlet before. No one is ever like, how did you? Vis literally picks up the gauntlet and is like, oh, cool, I know how this works. And no one really is like, because later on Calidus is like, where did you learn how? People are going to question how you know how to sword fight. That was weird. But no one is like, Vis picked up the gauntlet and immediately knew how it worked, and that was weird. There's no training on the gauntlet. Everyone else has to take an entrance exam using the gauntlet, and Vis doesn't. Like he has no fucking clue. And so the idea of it is just very funny to me that everyone is so suspicious of Vis about everything except the fact that he picks up this gauntlet and is like, wall, 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 wall. Anyway, he and I win because he speaks a dead language. Arzu says he was going to be a diplomat in a hostile country. It does make sense. But he wasn't going to be a diplomat in the country. This language is a dead language. No one speaks this language anymore. Officially, right? Reading Ender's Game series is like an acid trip wrapped in an acid trip. It doesn't even understand where it is itself going half the time. I've only read the first book, so I've never read any of the rest of it. But yeah, I just think I think that a 17-year-old speaking like 7 languages is a lot. It's only dead officially. Yeah, right. Tarkar says, I'm gonna be real. If Aquinas can make a fake labyrinth, I assume anyone above him can as well. So they probably know people have fake labyrinths out there. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. Yeah. Arzu says, I speak 4 languages. It's not that weird. Oh, I'm not saying it's weird to speak a bunch of languages. I just think that the way in which Vis, I just think that it's not that Vis is good. Thing that Vis is good at is being the smartest person, right? It's not that Vis is like a linguist expert. It's that Vis is an everything expert. That's weird. It's not that Vis speaks this dead language. I don't have a problem with that. It's that no matter what comes up, Vis is good at it. Or becomes good at it immediately. It's that Vis doesn't have any holes in his abilities. thus far in the book. There is no thing that Vis needs anybody else for. Vis is good at every part of the job. And that is why the languages thing stands out. It's not because he speaks multiple languages. It's cool that he speaks multiple languages, right? It is that in the pile of things Vis is good at, the multiple languages thing just it tips the pile a little too high. He's a character who just what is he not good at, right? What does Vis ever struggle with? What would Vis need someone else to help him with? The only reason why Calidus is an intelligent character for him to play off of is that Calidus has illegal information that Vis doesn't have, right? But in terms of intelligence, they're equals. There's nothing introduced in this book that Vis isn't like, I was trained in that at some point. And honest relationships and anger management, that's all I've got. Yeah, he does have an anger problem. He does have an anger problem, but that's not a skill issue, right? This is a character who, like, yeah, sure, his, like, charisma isn't the highest, but he rolled an 18 in every other stat. Arzu says, you should remember that he's the one saying he's good at everything, but the plot often proves him wrong. When does the plot prove him wrong? When does the plot prove him wrong? He has accomplished everything, right? He's gotten through 4. He has, I mean, yeah, he needed help to get past Dutertis, but that was because of things that have literally nothing to do with him. But like he beats the dueling champion of the world, of the country, in armor he has had one night with. He wins the race as the 6, something no other 6 ever accomplishes, because he speaks a language that no one is supposed to be able to speak. He, like, at every level, he accomplishes his task. And Bryce says at the beginning, he's like, I'm so good at hiding my emotions, and Elkisgar immediately clocks him. Yeah, hiding his emotions is the thing he struggles at. I will agree with that. Arzu says in the first part, he thought he could fight and was put on his ass immediately in training. Sure. Yeah, by a, like, trained adult who is by someone who like has already beaten the academy. Fine, yeah. He is not technically better than everybody on the planet at everything. But we also saw that he could beat up not a Quintus. What was the guy that he beat up in the labyrinth? Even before he was trained by Daredevil, he beat someone up who was like an empowered person. Like it's not like he was losing all the time at the labyrinth. The problem he was facing in the labyrinth was that he was too good at it. He was winning too much. We literally got introduced into this character as like, God, this guy can't lose a fucking fight. He is winning too many fights. His character trait is, I don't know, man. I win too much. He beat up a Sextus, yeah. He literally beat up a will-powered person. He had to go into the fight naked because the guy had magic powers and he won that fight. He wins constantly. And I just wish he struggled with more than just like he gets angry sometimes. I wish he had like a thing that he needed to get better at. Sorry, yeah, I meant at the burlesque theater. He beats up the Sextus. And so when he also speaks multiple languages, he just feels he has a little bit of main character syndrome in this section. And because there's not enough time put into any of the other characters here, and everyone else doesn't really like move up except for him, it just feels like the part 1 or part 2 of this book feels like the slide is greased for Vis to just move through it and not really care about everybody else. And so it just makes him moving up less impressive because it's all that really happens. The plot of this is that he moves up because he's better than everybody else there. And that's fine. It's just, it would be more interesting if it felt like he had to like put real effort in to move. And Yeah. Shark 89 says, it's one thing I'll give Fourth Wing. Violet actually feels like she has a couple weaknesses. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I don't know that the execution of the writing of her weaknesses is always the best, right? I think that the I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome element of her character is sort of forgotten about at times. But she's at least established to have some problems, right? And you know, through, I don't want to spoil Fourth Wing in case you want to read it. I honestly, guys, I am a third of the way through Onyx Storm, and it is fuck, man. Those books get worse. Like, Fourth Wing is the best of the three, and maybe Onyx Storm gets great later on, but fuck, the first like 15 chapters, Rebecca Yarros doubles down on all the worst parts of the series so hard. It's so unfortunate. It really, God. Anyway, I'm bored says, for me, it's not that he speaks the language, but that the guy just happens to know the language he was trained in. Kind of same issue, but from the opposite direction. I'm bored. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I get it. Anyway, let's move on. They win. But because they spoke in another language, Duterte calls it cheating, which is fine, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Like, it's one of those things where, like, whether they won or not, there's no prize for winning. So it doesn't matter. Like, Viridius is watching. Viridius knows what happens. This is one of those moments where Duterte is so petty in a way that doesn't harm Vis in any way. It just made Duterte not seem that smart. If you were to make the claim that Vis cheated, and everyone saw what happened and why you're saying Vis cheated, everyone who saw what happened, including your boss, is going to be like, he spoke in another language, and sure, it's not an official run, but okay, but this gets into the school part, right? If the goal of the school is to find, Arzu says, but Viridius doesn't get involved in who moves up, doesn't matter at all. That's not, that doesn't matter. If the goal of the school is to find the kids that are going to be able to run the labyrinth, and Viridius sees that Vis picks up the gauntlet ostensibly for the first time and is this good at it immediately, then it doesn't make sense for Viridius to not clock that and be like, I need that kid to move up. I need him to run the gauntlet. He might die in the gauntlet, but I need someone who can succeed in the fucking gauntlet. He robbed Vis of the prize of accomplishment, truly a lethal blow. 100%. No, I agree with that. I understand why it pisses Vis off on like a personal level, but it doesn't actually hurt Vis in the school because everyone is going to know that Vis fucking crushed it, right? Everyone is going to leave and be like, yeah, Vis speaks a dead fucking language, and on his first try holding the gauntlet, Vis crushed the gauntlet. That matters more than if it's written down in a book somewhere, right? There's a lot of accomplishments in life that will get taken from you on the books, that it is more valuable for everyone to hear that you did. And weirdly, Duterte made sure that everyone in the school is going to hear about it, right? All the teachers above Duterte, and obviously Duterte thinks that Vis will never get out of his class. But Duterte made it a thing that in a way makes Vis so much cooler, right? And in a way, just harms Duterte's reputation. Because the teachers that already don't respect Duterte, who talk shit about him behind his back, are going to be like, yeah, he's coming down on Vis for no fucking reason. And the teachers that have Duterte's back can't be like, no, there's a reason. It's a good reason. You can't defend his actions, right? And this is how adults think, is they go, shit, people are going to judge my actions as an adult in the school that is about hierarchy. And it is important that I behave like an adult. And Duterte acts like a child. And he's a kid. He's another child there. And it's a little disappointing to me. Arzu says the way they swear at the teacher in that language later while making the legit translations, though, it's great. It is fantastic. It is also hilarious because Anissa apparently speaks that language. So, like, Other people know what they're doing. Anyway, it's not important. It isn't. It isn't. Or I guess it is important, but that's the end of my thought. After this, Aiden and Vis have a much better relationship. And so when Vis sneaks out one night, he hops over the wall. We'll talk about Aiden as the part of this later, but he hops over the wall, runs out into the woods in the hopes of finding something, and hopes that in the middle of the night, he can run in this right direction. He does. He finds these ruins, and he is like, okay, at full sprint, Viridius can't get here for 20 minutes. So I'm going to go through this door, even though it is definitely going to be locked. Definitely going to be locked. And, or like will locked, and it's going to be a problem. I'm going to have like 20 minutes to go in. And this is where James Islington's writing is so damn good. This dude writes horror really well. Vis goes into the ruins and he starts looking around. There's a big hole into the ground. He drops down and there's writing all over the walls. It glows on its own. Like the walls have this bioluminescent writing. And then he starts finding dead bodies with obsidian spikes through them. It felt very Brandon Sanderson. You know what I mean? It felt very like the Inquisitors from Mistborn. And these things open their eyes. They come to life. It is so creepy and well done. Like, genuinely, I was like, oh, fuck, more of this. Get me out of that fucking school and give me this Indiana Jones shit. This scene, the whole scene was fantastic. Like, genuinely fantastic. Really, really, really enjoyed it. I thought the setup for the ruins was really cool. On the walls, the diagram for how to build the labyrinth is there, apparently. There's also the diagram for how to build the gauntlet. And so clearly Viridius is building this stuff based on these plans. He didn't come up with it himself. And Vis is trying to figure out, like, is all of this calamity shit? Is it pre-calamity shit? When is all of this from? And he ends up having someone look at him, and then they start to say, fuck, man, I should have had the exact words pulled up in front of me. But they basically have this thing that they start repeating over and over again about the, like, obetum selectum. Was this a reaction? I don't remember what chapter this was. I don't think it was. So Vis eventually flees. Fuck. Does anyone have, can anyone pull up what they were saying? Cause I can't remember now. Oh shit. Chat. Everyone shut the fuck up. Everyone shut the fuck up. We just completed our mortgage. We're buying a house, kids. We just signed, sealed, and delivered our fucking mortgage. We're buying a house. Oh my God. Everyone, thank you. This is all because of you. Couldn't have done it without you. Like, genuinely couldn't have done it without you. I cannot believe. I kept thinking this whole process. I was like, somebody's going to say no at some point, right? Like, somebody's going to be like, you guys are YouTubers. You can't have a house. No, we own a house. I mean, we still have to, like, we still have to put together a bunch of money for our closing payment, which is going to be fun. But the mortgage is signed. Wow. Okay. Focus on book club. Anyway, we get he runs back to school and he manages to hop over the wall. He does cut his hand open while climbing over the wall because he's a little goofus. Obitium is lost. Do not open the gates. Synchronous is death. Yes. Okay. I think that Obitium was right. Thank you, Arzu. I appreciate that. Obitium is the capital city of the pre-cataclysmic society that used willpower, right? When that happened, the person who took over willpower is Synchronous is the power of willpower, right? And so synchronous is passing your will up the chain because you're in sync with the people in your pyramid. I think that the person who is at the top of the pyramid now, whoever numero uno is locked behind the gates. And everyone is ceding will to this person kind of unknowingly. And if he were to get out, he would become like the Dark Lord, essentially, and be able to use everybody's will to be the Dark Emperor of the world. And so they're all in synchronous now, which isn't death right now because the bad guy's locked behind the gate. But if the person who took out Obatium is unleashed from the gates, then synchronous will become death because basically he will have control of everyone whose will is seated up the pyramids. And the kids who are basically like Vis and his friends who aren't synced are going to, because they can't be synced because of the rules of the school, are going to become the like people who have to lead society in their revolution against whoever's let out from the gates. This is what I think is going to happen. Probably wrong, but that's what I got from that. Vis gets back. He is seen by Aiden because Aiden is studying like a mad motherfucker because he doesn't speak the language. And the teacher comes and checks up on him. Viridius really fucks up here. Like, genuinely really fucks up. If Viridius was smart, he would have... can't wait for the end of book club. Okay. If Viridius was smart, he would have left a teacher to watch to see if anyone came back to the school over the wall. Like, if someone broke into my thing, I would be like, you wait here and see if anyone comes back. But instead, he and some other guy run off towards the thing. They do get there. Vis sneaks by them, gets back to his room. And Verdi sends the guy back to check on the thirds, fourths, and sixths where Vis is. And so Vis does pull this off. Security at this school, not great. They believe their will wall is going to keep everybody out. And so Vis gets away with it. In the morning, he falls down the stairs and intentionally falls down the stairs while holding a knife against his palm by the blade so that he can recreate his own wound so that he is injured in a way that look, Vis may not want to use other people's will and he might not want to give up his will, but the boy's got a shit ton of it. Boy's got will for days, man, because I could not once ever do this to myself. There's just not a chance. He's lucky he didn't sever all his tendons. Yeah, he's lucky he can use his hand for the rest of his life. There's no world in which I would be like able to do this. I would chicken out. Like, I would be such a baby about it. The idea that I would walk down the stairs holding a knife and just intentionally stab that shit. This was visceral, man. Visceral. Oh, wow. That just came to me. Visceral. Huh. Chris Hazelden, thank you for the book club. Hey, now, I said end of book club. Oh, end of book club. Oh, you're excited for next week. I understand. Yeah, couldn't do it. There's not a world in which I could do it. Ugh. So, this manages to hide his injury, and he gets away with it. He gets away with sneaking out to the ruins. What happens next? We go to the Necropolis. The Necropolis is a mountain where all the dead people are, which is... It just seems like a lot of effort for a society to move its dead people around in this way. There's so many reaction commissions for next week. Wait, what? There are? No. What do you mean, Arzu? There's reaction for this? I thought there was only one. Wait. It's in mod chat? Well, now I need to know what the fuck... What does my week look like, you fucks? What did you do to me, chat? What did you fucking do? Oh my God. There's 5 chapter reactions. They're trying to help you pay for your house. You have a mortgage now. I do have a mortgage now. Okay, but can I like spill some tea real quick? Can I spill some tea real quick, chat? We do have a mortgage now. That is true. However, because of how insane the housing market is in Toronto right now, our mortgage for our house that is significantly larger than the house we're in now that we bought, our mortgage is $1,500 less a month than our rent is right now. We are going to be paying $1,500 less a month to own our house than we are currently paying to rent a house. On top of that, we had to pay off our car in order to be allowed to get the mortgage. The bank wouldn't give us a mortgage and have our like monthly car payment. And so we had to we now own the car outright, which is very fun. The car is no longer like on any sort of payment plan. But our car payment was also a significant like chunk every month. It was high. And so our monthly expenses after we move are like almost cut in half from what they are now. That makes sense? No, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Why are we torturing rent people? Rent people are poor. Not everyone who rents is poor. I know that. But like, why is society set up in a way where the people who can't build equity are spending more of their money to be poor over time? And now I'm going to be in a better financial position. And also I'm building equity for my future. How does that make sense to any? How is the government not like, wait a second, we have incentivized terror as a means of keeping people housed. Like, look, I feel very fortunate that I get to move into this position. I am moving into this position because of y'all. I want to be really clear. I didn't do any of this shit. Nerdy Nightly Entertainment is this community, and it is possible because of my wife's titties and YouTube. I'm very grateful for that. I feel very lucky to have the life that I have. That doesn't mean that I'm okay with the fact that renting is as much of a scam as it fucking is, okay? Malia says homeownership has hidden costs, but ultimately, yes, I think the equity building makes up for it. Hidden costs, sure, but like, yeah. And look, like I might have to replace my dryer and that would be like $4,000. Sure. But I'll have that money because I'm not putting it into someone else's equity. You know, it's so tough. I had anxiety with our first house and realized we'd be saving money by moving to a much bigger place that we owned. Yeah, it's crazy. Make sure you have a repair fund. Yeah, we will. We just got our home inspection. So the reason I didn't stream Claire Obscura yesterday, we got our home inspection done. And sorry, people who are here for book club, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here. We got our inspection done and we were like waiting for the thing that was going to be the like, we were waiting for our inspector to be like, it's really great, but these are the problems. And one of the things that we wanted to do before we moved in, because we get the house like end of August and we have to move out of the house we're in by October 1st. And so we were like, okay, we're going to do some renovations in September. Mostly we're just going to add Ethernet plugs up the whole house, right? We wanted to be able to have Ethernet in every room because we want to stream from the attic where we have this like attic space that we're going to use as our book club set and stuff like that. And as we're doing the home inspection, we realized the entire house already set up for Ethernet. Every single room has an Ethernet jack in it already put in. We don't have to do the renovation. And then we sit down with the home inspector and he's like, honestly, they've renovated everything so recently. This house is great. Like in like 10 years, you're going to have these are the things that are going to go. But the house is in like sick shape. And he walked us we have to kind of get some light work done on the roof, but we don't need a whole new roof, which is nice. We're just in like a really good spot. And we were like, anyway, we feel very lucky. Like the washer dryer's new, the kitchen's brand new. The couple that we're buying it from, they are they bought it like 3 years ago and put a bunch of work into it, and then the market crashed on them, and so they fucking left. The mural driveway will be expensive next year. Yes, I'm bored. The mural driveway is going to be expensive, but Malia, thank you for that super chat. Nerdy and Clar's home ownership repair fund. I appreciate it. I don't know what we're going to need to repair. I think we're going to renovate the bathroom. Like, I think that's going to be the big expense. Is we want a nicer bathroom than it has right now. The shower bathtub kind of sucks. So like that's going to be the biggest expense once we can, like, we're going to be broke. You know what I mean? We're going to put in our closing payment. We're going to pay off the audit. We're going to be broke. And then when we're not broke anymore, we will get a new bathroom. It's going to be sick. Anyway, back to the book. So this is doing the necropolis. Okay. Well, how far into book club are we right now? We're an hour and 15. Okay. This goes to the necropolis to go to his family's like mourning time, which is a really cool idea. I think the idea of everyone's bodies being on the same mountain is like, seems like a crazy amount of effort for a country to make. However, I think that burying people in general is a very odd practice, and I think graveyards are very strange. I think the amount of space that we give to graveyards as like a planet is just very, I find it odd. Please just burn me. I want to be cremated, and I don't know, put my ashes in the Millennium Falcon at Galaxy's Edge or something. So he goes to meet his family for the first time, and he ends up in a position where more environmentally friendly as a concept than cremation. What? Emberize? No, it is not. Entombing people? It's not environmentally friendly at all. It's awful. If we were to just put people in wood boxes and let them decompose, I would agree with you. But we don't. We like encase them in like cement. We go out of our way. If you put me in like a normal wooden box in the ground and let my body decompose and go back to the earth, that would be fine. What I don't need is to be like entombed in a way where I'm like gonna be just there forever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we meet the grandparents, and then this is fun. We're gonna meet Reliquia. Who is the wife of our dad. And she walks in the room, and it's fucking Sedocia. Chat, did you hear me? Chat. Hey, chat, did you hear me? Chat. It's fucking Sedocia. Sedocia is his mom. Here I was thinking that they were going to be romantic pairing in these books. Here I was thinking by book 3, they were going to be in a little bit of a relationship. And it's his fucking mom. Now, granted, that doesn't mean that they won't be in a relationship in book 3. And honestly, I would kind of love that. If this is cucking El Quiscore. You don't want that adopted incest, Nerdy? I kind of do. I kind of want this to become like Vis cucking El Quiscore behind his back. You don't like Anissa? I like Anissa. I just think that Anissa is, like Vis says, she is a hierarchy person, and I don't think that it would be, I don't think they have a real possibility at a relationship. Also, Anissa's, I agree with Emberize. Like, Anissa's relationship is that she is a cute and competent girl. She's like, she doesn't, I don't know anything about her. She like shows up to like flirt with Vis and wants to help him train. Like that, it is true that she's willing to help him train. She's fine. I just don't think there's really a future for them, given the fact that when she finds out that he's trying to like, that he's working with the Anguis and shit, she's not gonna be on board with that, I don't think. That doesn't seem like her character. I think Anissa is his tragic first love, who he falls for within the hierarchy and it doesn't work out. And then he's going to have a second love. Guys, I don't need my books to be filled with characters who end up with the first person they ever flirt with. I understand that that's a thing in romantasy. Like, I understand that even modern romantasy, like, Fourth Wing, right? Where the characters aren't virgins, but it's never really explicitly said that they fucked other people, because the first person they're attracted to in this book is, hey baby, the first person they're attracted to in this book is the one that they're going to date because they're so hot and they fall in love. I don't need everybody to be with the first person they dated. One of the things that I think is so great about the Wheel of Time, and this is not really spoiler for the Wheel of Time, I don't think. It kind of is. Not really, because, you know, the idea that Rand and Egwene have this, like, childhood romance, that in the show, it's very different, right? But in the books, it is okay that Rand and Egwene were just, like, childhood sweethearts, and that it didn't go anywhere because they grew up and then they have adult relationships with other people, right? Because that's life. Those are real people. It makes people feel real when they, like, have a flirtation and move on from it. I've been attracted to so many fucking people in the planet. I have. I'm still attracted to multiple people, right? I love my wife. I'm never going to leave my wife. And, like, I've made that decision. But I got married at 30. All right, I technically got married at 28. But you know what I mean? Like, I got married as an adult who understood the world and had experienced it and knew what I wanted. And that's not to say that you can't get married at 18 or 19. You can. There are plenty of people who are happy doing that. Some people, my sister is with the person that they've been with since fucking middle school, right? And they're very happy, and, you know, I'm very happy for them. I just don't need every protagonist to only ever have one person they're attracted to. I find that very boring and unimmersive world-wise. The older fantasy books that romantasy has evolved from used to have more complex relationships, and female characters were allowed to have multiple relationships on page that were treated with respect. Yeah, and those are the things I'm more interested in, right? But I like Anissa. I think she's fine. I just think that whatever relationship they end up having isn't going to end well. And that will be probably good narrative. Or it'd be great. I don't know. So, I don't know where I'm at, man. He talks to his dad. He's like, hey, can you help me with this? And his dad's like, no, figure it out. What the fuck? And he's like, hey, Dad, can I also I want to sneak onto the island. And the way that I want to do that is I want to use... Hey, babe? Yeah? If you're going to do the dishes, can you close the door here? Sorry? If you're going to do the dishes, can you close the door here? I'm recording a podcast. Yeah. He's like, I need you to make me a cuff that is going to allow me to jump off of the transvect so that I can swim to the island, and then I can jump, and then I can use it to fly back to the transvect. Guys, let's not talk about relationships in Stormlight, just in case. I don't want to go too far down the Stormlight path, because I don't want to, This is just very... I just tried... Yeah. So, Kaladin is... Let's not talk about Stormlight. I need you to dislocate my shoulder, please. Yeah. Yeah. Arzu, and Bryce, you're right. His shoulder doesn't rip off. Really, it is the, like, Black Widow level of shoulder strength, where... in Avengers, when she jumps, when the Chitauri's flying over her and she jumps up and grabs the thing and gets whipped off by the Chitauri, and you're like, I understand that she is an above average human. I still think her shoulder would be absolutely fucked by that. I'll do the dishes when I'm done. I was just gonna run the dishwasher, sorry. Okay. So yeah, the Chitauri of it all is his shoulder should get ripped off, but whatever. He needs this thing. His dad's like, I can make that in like an hour. And sure, I guess. So then he goes and has a conversation with Sedocia, and he's like, hey, can you help me get past the Tertis? It's wild that you're fucking here. It's fucking crazy that you are present. And she's like, I'll see what I can do. She also like wants him to keep working with her, but doesn't. The one element of Sedocia that I wish was a little bit stronger was, I wish, and I said this in part 1 too, I just wish they made a stronger case for like why they just kind of threaten him and are like, you're just gonna do this. And I do wish there was a slightly stronger attempt at charming him into it. Because she doesn't make a great, her understanding of Viz's uncomfortability with death and with murder leads her to just sort of double down on the fact that she's gonna do it. And for these characters who are supposed to be so smart and so like aware and manipulative, she doesn't present another option. She just kind of is like, oh no, we're going to keep doing the murdering. That the plan is to do more murdering. And you're just going to have to be okay with that. And I felt like she could have made a stronger argument here. And I would have bought, like, she could have tried to win Vis over. And it just doesn't seem like she even really tries. And I found that fascinating as a reader, being like, if you can't tell that he's uncomfortable with the way that you're presenting this, but not because not because I can hear his inner thoughts, but what he's saying out loud, and you keep going down the same road, there's the whole like, you can catch more flies with honey than with vinegar, and Sudochia feels like a lot of vinegar, and I don't know how I feel about her. I also, like, as shocking as this is, I still don't really know how I feel about her having this amount of narrative freedom to be everywhere she needs to be all the time. You know, it was a reveal that was really shocking and really cool. And then when I thought about it, it stretched my ability to, like, because she would be somewhat of a known person, but I don't know. I don't really know. But again, like, would she be known at the arena? A lot of people on the, like, Telemus's level wouldn't go there, right? There is kind of a safety in being among the kind of crowd that wouldn't show up. So maybe I'm stretching it on my own, and that stretch isn't actually there. But the plan is that the transvect, there's going to be one transvect that goes back and forth constantly, right? And Vis is going to be on one of them, but because the Anguis want to kill him because of what he did at the arena, they're not going to tell anyone which transvect he's on. So it's kind of a secret, which allows him to concoct this plan where he is going to get on a transvect, hope that nobody knows that he's on the transvect. He's going to jump off the transvect, and she's wearing a veil at the arena. Oh, I understand that at the arena specifically she's wearing a veil. I'm saying that, like, her whole life is constant lies. And she's like, known figure, right? It would be like if instead of in Andor, if Andor wasn't in Andor and Mon Mothma was in the Senate and also on the missions. Everyone above Sextus gets sunglasses for some reason. That is true. They do. It's because it's not for some reason, Arzu. It's because something happens to their eyes, which I only know because when Iqua has the shit kicked out of Vis later on, the guys who beat the shit out of Vis at the festival of the harvest, they beat the shit out of him and then open his eyes to see if he's using will. And so the sunglasses have to hide something to do with his eyeballs, right? Their eyes change when they use will. Yeah. Yeah, right? I'm assuming that, like, the more will you're channeling, something happens to your eyes as you channel more will. Yeah, I forgot about the sunglasses, which is why the people who run the labyrinth have their eyes cut out, right? Oh, I didn't even bring this up. When he goes down into the ruins, everyone has their eyes cut out, and then that's how they think that Daredevil, when she lost her memory on the island with fucking Sea-Roar and Viridius, that she had something to do with these ruins and the people with their eyes scooped out. I am thinking that the scooping out of the eyeballs has something to do with the fact that will can be seen in the eyes. Maybe that um the whoever the bad guy is, who's on the other side of the gates, the big dark power is what I think is going to be. That person can see through the eyes of people who use will. Is what I think it's going to be. And so the people in the ruins who are responsible for keeping him locked up have their eyes scooped out because he won't be able to see through their eyes. And that's going to be a big part of the books moving forward. But yeah, that the sunglasses, that I think that's what that's about. So Viss talks to Daredevil and they kind of reveal the ruins and stuff. Everyone's frustrated Viss hasn't moved forward enough, but he went to the ruins, so it's okay. He's not accomplishing the school shit, but he is accomplishing the ruin shit, so all key score's not that mad at him. For some reason, I really like the word scoop with eyeballs. Scoop. Oh yeah, you gotta scoop an eyeball every now and then. You know what I mean? You just gotta try it. Get out there and scoop a dang eyeball. So this jumps off a transvect. This gets on an early transvect, and his plan is to fucking, like Luke Skywalker climbing the AT-AT in Empire Strikes Back, zip back up to the transvect later and hope that no one notices that he's so fucking wet. And he runs across the fucking island. He has no idea where he's going. He's just meandering. And he finds another set of ruins. These ruins are different than the other ruins because they have a door that you have to like speak a password to get in. It's like the fucking Mines of Moria up in here. And he gets in, he goes downstairs, there's a big door, and then this dude walks over and is like, hey, I betrayed the people. I did the thing. I am here to tell you how to do the thing now. And he's like, this is the gauntlet, that's the labyrinth. If you want to do the labyrinth, do the labyrinth. If you don't want to do the labyrinth, that's fine. Oh yeah, there's an evil elevator, I guess. There's clearly like magic in this world from the pre-cataclysm that's still around. It is unclear at this point if Viridius knows about these runes. I'm assuming he does. But at no point in the... Because there's a montage after this, and there's weeks where Viss is here. No point in that montage does security change or anything. So it doesn't seem like Viridius has this door alarmed at all. And it's unclear if Viridius has been through this door. I think he has. I'm putting my money on he has, because Calidus says that children are dying and disappearing. And I do believe that the thirds and fourths that are dying running this labyrinth. So I think Viridius knows how to get in here, but not 100% sure yet. I think that this is where the Eutychium is, but we'll see it later. So Viss does not want to run the fucking labyrinth, and the guy's like, do you want me to show you how to run the labyrinth? And Viss is like, oh, yeah, that'd be great. Sick, dude. Sick. So the dude puts on the gauntlet, or he has the gauntlet on. He walks forward. Or no, I think he took the gauntlet off to try and hand it. Viss put it on. The labyrinth formed. Then Viss is like, I don't want to do this right now. I am not a third yet. I can't run the labyrinth. So then the dude puts on the gauntlet and he's like, I'm going to go. And he runs in, and then these obsidian blade monsters appear and they rip this guy to shreds. And Viss is horrified. And then this girl walks over and she's in the same position. She's like, hey man, I betrayed these people. It is now my job to teach you how to do the thing. And Viss is like, please don't. Please don't. Stay alive, girl. I have not leveled up sufficiently for this area of the game. I will return later. And so he does. So he leaves and he dips out and he runs back to the transvect. He kills some fish and then he feeds those fish to a wolf pup or something. I'm sure that's going to come back later, that wolf is going to be like, hey man, you fed me, and now we're friends. Is she really living? It feels like she's some sort of puppet. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Viss gets a familiar, and he runs back to Transvect. His compass starts working when he gets close enough, and so I think that So the compass dangle needle thing that he's using is supposed to work regardless of distance, but it doesn't work everywhere on the island. Yeah, the wolf feels like the biggest Chekhov's gun ever. Yes. Yes. The wolf is going to be a wild convenience later on. But instead of being a wild convenience, they'll be like, no, I established it because he gave that wolf some fish that one time. And so the compass starts working again. I think that there's one of two options here for why the compass starts working again. One is water blocks the will in a way that other substances don't, and the tracker being in the water meant that the distance that it would work is limited. That would be important later because using water as a shield to like create something around will would be useful. Water is an abundant resource. The other option is that the labyrinth is, and this is the second option is the option I think is more likely. Will devices do not work around the labyrinth other than the gauntlet. Viridius knows that. And so the reason why all of the students in the academy do not have will and have become accustomed to working without will and are trained to do all this stuff without will, without being seated to, is because they can't use any of that to run the labyrinth. They have to be able to do the labyrinth without it. And Bryce says, if it's the water, it might mean there's some big secret on Seuss, which is an island, maybe. Yeah, it's either there's a big water thing, or it's that the whole reason for the academy having kids without will in them, and I think this is the more likely one, it has to do with this labyrinth kind of repelling people who are able to use will, right? I don't know which it is. I think it could be either, but I think the second one is more likely. So this goes back to school. And this is when the fight with, he has the opportunity to move up because a kid dies. And so the classes are shuffled. We find out that Sadocha killed him. Is anybody surprised? Vis is given the opportunity to move up a class, but he has to fight the best duelist. We already talked about this. It's a hat on a hat on a hat. It could have been simpler, and simpler would have been better here. But he wins. He smashes the guy's head into the ground, proves that the guy was cheating. He moves up. Then he's a fifth for a bit. He becomes closer friends with Aiden. He starts training Aiden in how to speak the language. Aiden gets better at common really quick. He doesn't have to do his nightly time in the stables anymore. So he spends less time with Anissa, but they keep kind of like giving each other looks. And him and Calidus become really good friends. Calidus reveals a lot of information about the census that he's not supposed to have because his dad is revealing it illegally. And that is really interesting shit. I think that this whole section kind of boils down into mostly being about Calidus revealing to Vis that the government, the military, and the religion sections of this world are probably going to go to war soon. There's going to be some kind of a civil conflict because this is a empire. And the problem with empires is that when you can't conquer anybody, you start to turn inwards. And military doesn't have anywhere to go. And so they should be getting smaller, but they're not. And it's kind of a waste of resources. And this is going to lead to problems. And it kind of is like, well, does Vis even need to take down this government? It seems like they're going to do themselves in sooner rather than later. This ultimately leads to Vis getting the opportunity to move up another class. And his teacher, I think his name's Skeeter, is like, hey, man, if you're going to be fourth, you got to make some fucking friends, bud. I am not going to let you be a lone wolf up here. We play too much D&D, and I don't accept lone wolves at the table. And Viz is like, do I have to? Do I have to make friends? Ugh. I like Calidus. Starquake says, I find this weird. How the fuck will government and religion stand up to military if they go to war? Because this isn't a real world where military has all the weapons, right? This is a world where the most powerful people have superpowers, and every section of this society has the same number of people with superpowers. So I do think that that's what it is, right? It also, like, here's the thing, like, you can have a military and not have supply lines, you know? Think about the possibility of, like, intentionally crashing a transvect into a military line. Just bring that thing down on them. They've got crazy weapons. Also, like, there's pre-cataclysm weapons that are starting to pop up. Like, things can get real weird real fast. Good old Skeeter is like, hey man, you have to make friends. You can't eat with Calidus anymore. Have dinner with the Fourths. Calidus is upset about this, but he understands. And Calidus and Vis have a brief little spat where Calidus knows that Vis is lying about his past, but Vis is like, I can't tell you. And Calidus is like, I have fair. Okay. It's great, honestly. Not because it's like the most interesting relationship dynamic ever, but just because there is some conflict for Vis. Like, the closest thing Vis has to a conflict in this section, really, other than Dutertus just being like, no, which is just that Vis can't do anything about that, right? The conflict here that he can do something about is his relationship with Calidus. And so, like, I'm grateful this was here because it at least gave some barrier to Vis just kind of sleepwalking through the section. I enjoyed it a lot. For what it does for us, the book, even though I didn't enjoy it a lot in its, it wasn't super interesting on its own, right? But it was just necessary. And so, credit where credit's due. This is like, all right, he makes friends with the Fourths, man. He does. Because they're not, like, needlessly assholes to him, right? Iroh's still a prick. But, like, the Fourths they're just, like, they're not as threatened by him. They're high enough up. They've got their own shit going on. There were bets on how long it was going to take him to get there. And Equa's in this class. Equa's at the top of the class. Vis is at the bottom. And they are like, hey man, we're going to be friends. Come hang out with us. We're going to treat you right. I really like this. I also, credit to Vis. Skeeter and him are having an argument about him becoming friends. And Skeeter's like, you shouldn't spend time with 6s and 7s. And Vis is like, I am going to train Iden. I'm going to spar with Calidus in the morning, and I'm going to train Iden on the language. And Skeeter relents in a way that I found interesting, because one of the elements of this book that is another thing that's lacking from the school for me is that if the goal of the school is to feel like the outside world, then it is surprising to me that the school is not set up in a way where the structure of the school involves the students interacting with those beneath them in any way. Yes, you can move up and down the levels, right? To be a third, to be a second, or to be not a second, because that doesn't exist, but to be a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. But there aren't pyramid structures within the school. Like, you don't have like a group of sevenths with a group of 6 above them leading up to a third. There isn't sort of a family structure. There's no sort of like units at the school like that. And if anything, when he's like, no, I'm going to keep teaching this 6th the language because he's useful to me, that feels like the hierarchy. That feels like what the school does not have a system in place to help teach the way in which it would be beneficial for you to run your pyramid when you're in the outside world. And it feels like it should. It feels like the people who end up being senators and having hundreds of people underneath them who essentially work them, that the school has no mechanic for instilling what that looks like or how that functions. They learn politics and they learn will, but they don't really learn how to lead. There's no leadership. That's what it is. They don't learn how to lead. They're going to be senators who, like, I had this thought while I was reading it. All of the senators who come out of this school and become senators in the, like, government, they're all like PhDs. It would be kind of like, to become a senator in the United States of America, you have to have a deep understanding of how electricity works. And, like, that's fine. Senators should understand how electricity works. Like, I'm not saying they shouldn't, but that's what, I don't need every senator to be a PhD in electricity, right? I need them to be like leaders. I need them to understand how to, like, get people to work together. I need them to understand these kind of other skills. And the school is so built on them being like PhDs in how will functions in a way that I don't think many of them will ever need. They need to know how to run a pyramid of people. They need to know like how to move people up and down the pyramid on their own. I thought the school was going to have an element where the students are more involved in who moves up and down, because that would be a stronger lesson for them to learn in how to run their pyramids when they are out in the world. And Arzu says the fact they don't understand how the internet works is part of the problem of idiotic internet laws. Oh, I agree with you. I completely agree with that, right? But the internet isn't the only thing that the Senate regulates, is my point, right? Like, I also need the Senate to understand how farms work. I also need the Senate to understand how I'm blanking. I need them to understand how medical care works, right? The problem with being a senator is that you need to surround yourself with people who are experts in their field and trust them. But you have to learn how to do that. Like learning how to accept advice from people who know more than you is a really hard skill that you can work on. I'm bored says, I feel like given that will is a magic that gives you superpowers, it's pretty important, but I agree with you on the leadership thing. I think that being able to handle your will well is important. I don't think that like every senator needs to understand like how harmonic will, you know what I mean? Like, and maybe they do, but I really thought the school was going to have a hierarchy, and it doesn't. It does within the teachers, and the teachers choose which students go where, but the students don't have a hierarchy within their own system, and that surprised me. It genuinely surprised me. I was like, oh, it doesn't feel like they're learning what they need to learn to run a pyramid. It feels like they're learning what they need to learn to run a labyrinth, which I guess is Viridius's goal. Yeah, it's just interesting. It just kind of felt like they're going to go out into the world lacking a lot of skills that are going to be very important to the job that they're ostensibly being set up for, which is leading the country. Yeah. So anyway, he becomes friends with the Fourths, and he keeps his relationships going with his friends, which is great. The Fourths are like, hey man, do you want to come to the festival with us? And he's like, yeah, I do. And the Thirds are like, hey man, during the winter break, do you want to come train with us? And he's like, yeah, Alkiscore is definitely going to want me to do that. Fuck yeah, brother. Let's go. Where are we going, bro? Where are we going to go train, brother? I'm going to train with the Thirds. I'm going to be one of the Thirds. Let's fucking go. And the guy's like, oh, we're going to Seuss. Oh, shit. I'm going home to the place I don't belong anymore. The place where I fell off the cliff. I'm going home. And immediately he's like, I should not have agreed to that. That was a bad agreement. Everyone there's going to know me, right? I was fucking famous. I do love when he's talking to Sadochia later. And he's like, everyone's going to know who I am. And she's like, you were 14. You're 17 now. No one is going to know who you were. Hey, this was dropped off a cliff. That's true. No one's gonna recognize you. It's fine. I need you to go. Sadochia is like, he's like, you know I can't go to this. That's crazy. And Sadochia is like, not only do I need you to go, it was my fucking idea. And so that's kind of the end of this section. Vis goes to the festival. He has a conversation with Sadochia where she's like, you need to go to Seuss. You need to do the thing. And interestingly, he's going with the Thirds who are in military. So this whole like training with the Thirds, it's only the Thirds in military because the divides at the school, ever since the necropolis, the divides of the school have been popping up more and more. And this like civil conflict seems to these kids understand that this is where things are headed, even if they're not willing to say it other than Calidus. And Iqua has this beat to shit by some guys with will, and Iqua's only consequence for committing assault, for getting adults to beat the shit out of a child, adults with superpowers to beat the shit out of a child who does not have superpowers, is that she loses her rank in class. And like, look, I don't want anyone to end up in the sappers. I do not want anyone to end up in the sappers. It sounds awful, but like, this feels like the kind of thing that ends you in the sappers. You know what I mean? I was very surprised she got away with this, as unpunished as she was. This was a stretch. But it's because she thinks that he's using well. She thinks he's been cheating the whole time, and he proves that he hasn't been. Oh, the other big thing that we learned that I want to bring up is it was kind of pre-planned with the teacher. Oh, 100%. No, I agree. I understand. I understand that it was kind of pre-planned, but it feels at the very least she should have dropped to 5, right? Her just going from top of the class to bottom of the class doesn't feel like enough of a drop for how wrong she was, right? And also, Skeeter should have, like, Skeeter being like, they weren't supposed to be that violent. It's like, what do you mean supposed to be, brother? You set this up. Her dad is above Vis's dad? Oh, 100%. I agree. I agree her dad is above. I get that. I'm not saying that she should end up in the sappers. I'm saying that, like, I was surprised that she was dropped only from top of 4 to bottom of 4. That's all. I think she should have dropped to 5. That's all I'm saying. I am just also saying, like, this is the kind of thing that ends you in the sappers for most other people. They didn't think Vis would fight that hard. Why didn't they think Vis would fight that hard, Arzu? Just based on everything they've seen about him as a character ever. Why wouldn't they? Like, just what do you mean they didn't think he'd fight that hard? What did they think he was going to do? Have they not followed any of the shit Vis has done for the last few months? Vis showed up to school and broke a guy's nose immediately. He then went on to beat the shit out of the fucking country's dueling champion. They assumed he was cheating? Sure, but if he was cheating, he would have fought harder. If he was stronger, he would have fought even harder. If he had superpowers, he would have, like, fucking wasted their fucking asses. There are two things that were going to happen. Either he was going to fight for his life like he has at every other opportunity in the book in front of them. Like, it's not even like Iqua and Skeeter can say they didn't see it. They were present for the other 2 times they've seen Vis in a fight. The last time they saw him in a fight, he took a kid's head and repeatedly smashed the back of it into the ground over and over and over again. The one thing they know this guy does is fight as hard as he fucking can at every opportunity. So Iqua, I just think Iqua should have dropped to 5. She was very convinced that he was cheating. She was wrong, and I don't know. Just dropping to the bottom of the class feels whatever. Anyway, it's a great scene. Like, and I think that Iqua, as much as I like Iqua, and I like the idea of her. She's your goat? Iqua's your goat? Really? What has she done in this book to be worthy of goat status? She must do something cool later on, because Iqua just kind of sucks. She's sort of a wet noodle. She's just sort of like a princessy character who looks down on others. She's good at stuff, I guess. I guess she's good at stuff. She's good at the labyrinth. She runs Vis through the labyrinth, but don't answer that. Fair. She doesn't fall in love with Vis. That's fair. No, I just, yeah. Anyway, that's kind of the end. Vis has to go to Seuss. There's not much he can do. And yeah, we're going to go, all the military leadership's going to be there having a meeting. And so he needs to use the fact that he knows the secret tunnels through the castle to sneak in some information and find out what is going on with military as they have a meeting, not so much about the Anguis, but about government and religion and what they might be planning. And he also stalks her to another meeting where she sells pre-cataclysm weapons to a guy that's been cutting off people's heads. So that's fun. Yeah. Iqua's better than Anissa from the beginning. I'm bored. When we meet Iqua, she is like being a privileged, bored heiress in a fucking carriage who doesn't even pay attention to the conversation she's having. Although maybe, you know what? Maybe you like that. Maybe that's what you're into. Just a woman who doesn't want to be there. Yeah. Here's the thing, y'all. I'm still really enjoying the book. I think that when it gets into the horror elements, it's really well written. I think the action is really well written, right? As much as I found the I'm not talking flack from the cuck idea. I'm not talking flack from the cuck idea. I don't know what that means. I'm not talking flack from the cuck idea. I'm not taking flack from the cuck idea. I don't know what that means. You're not. Oh, you're not taking flack from the cuck guy? Are you calling me a cuck? That's interesting. Anyway, we get to that. That's it. That's the second half. I think add the guy to the end of the sentence. Raw phone. No, I'm not taking flack from the. I'm not. Okay, so now the sentence is I'm not taking flack from the cuck idea guy. Oh, the cuck idea. Oh, I understand what you're saying. From the guy who came up with the idea that Vis would cuck his dad. We got there. I'm bored. That we had to go down a whole fucking staircase to get there, but we got there. You think that you liking Iqua is better than my wanting Vis to cuck his own father. Great. I understand that. You know what? You're probably right on that one. You're just not as much of a degenerate as I am, and that's okay. I want to be honest about this book. I still really like it. I like it when it's doing the horror stuff. I like the combat choreography, or like the way it discusses the choreography of the action, even if I wish that they just cut the cheating element out of it, because him being a dueling champion was just enough of a cool thing for Vis to overcome. It didn't need another thing. I don't love the school so much, but I do like his friends. I wish that James Islington was as invested in Vis's enemies as he is in his friends. That's what it is for me. I think that I really enjoy his friends, and I think that they're fleshed out. The people that he's getting past aren't, and that is not my favorite. The Sedocia twist is so good. It's so good that it's hard. It's hard not to at least be intrigued about where this is going, right? What was the labyrinth with the spinning obsidian blades is also wonderful. But yes, my intent was investigator, so we got there. I'm bored. We climbed the whole staircase. We got there. I was like so in on. I want to just be clear. I was very in on part one. I really like part one. I think part one is stronger than part two for me right now. I like the emotional intelligence of the character in part one. Part two is a little bit weaker, but it's still good, and I'm still enjoying myself. We're gonna finish the book. We're gonna be back next week. But I just wanted to be honest that about the things about the book that were slipping for me a little bit, and that I hope part three strengthens. I hope that now we're in part three, and now that the only people above Vis are thirds and fourths, that we invest more time in those characters, in the people that are against Vis, his competition. I hope that they become more fully rounded and less like tropey video game like levels that Vis has to just beat and move on from. And I'm really curious to see where the book goes. I think obviously the book ends with him running the labyrinth with the obsidian blades, right? That has to be the end of this. I think that it will surprise me a little bit if, at the very least, Calidus and one other character will find out that he is the Prince of Seuss by the end of the book, right? It's either going to be Calidus and Elkiskor, Calidus and someone else, but it's going to be Calidus and somebody are going to know that he's the Prince of Seuss by the end of the book. I think that we are going to find out that Viridius... I'm now of the mind that Viridius didn't actually kill Searoar. Genuinely. Like, I actually think that... Viridius... Oh, Viridius might be the one who finds out that he's the Prince of Seuss, yeah. I don't think that, I'm not saying that Viridius is going to turn out to be a good guy, right? I'm not saying that Viridius isn't going to be the villain to Alquiscore, not maybe to Vis, but to Alquiscore. I think that the reveal about Searoar's death is going to genuinely be that, in a way, I think there's going to be some truth to the fact that he killed himself. Not in that he actually like committed suicide, but in that he was the first person to run that labyrinth and he died doing it. And that Viridius didn't want everyone to know about that labyrinth. And so in order to keep that labyrinth safe, Viridius lied to everyone about how Searoar died. But I am of the mind now that Searoar was not killed by Viridius. It just doesn't really feel like that's where this book is going. It feels like we are going to find out that Searoar died running that maze. That the obsidian blades killed Searoar. Or that Searoar got through the door and Searoar is alive on the other side of that door. That is I just thought of this now, but that is the other possibility, isn't it? That Viridius, that's what it is. Searoar isn't dead, is he? Searoar is the bad guy. Searoar's body is going to have been taken over by the synchronous on the other side of that door. I don't know what they said about his body. They mentioned being buried, but I don't know if that was symbolic. I don't think they found him, right? I know. I think they like had a burial, but people bury empty boxes all the time. Searoar got through the door. Didn't he? Interesting. They said he jumped off the cliff. Yeah. 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 That's, oh shit. There's a memorial on the island. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and Ulquiscore was not there when he was buried, right? Importantly. Oh, that's cool. I think that that's going to be the real reveal, right? Searoar is on the other side, and or Searoar either died running that marathon, running that labyrinth, or Searoar made it through. But either way, Searoar won't be Searoar if he's on the other side. It's going to be synchronous, or the person who synchronous like leads to, or something. I really think that's what it is. That's my guess. Anyway, this was fun. Did we enjoy a little bit of a baby book club with Nerdy where we talk about Will of the Many? I really hope the book, I hope the ending of this book really brings it home for me. I want to love part 3 as much as I love part 1. And that's not to say that part 2 wasn't good. I enjoyed the reading this week. I think there's great parts of it. I just think they made it too easy for the wolf pup. I have no fucking idea about the wolf pup, man. I feel like the wolf pup might be a tease for like book 2, right? Because it's still just going to be a pup in this book. It's not going to grow up that much. What if, oh, this would be wild. What if, Vis goes through the door, learns the truth of the world, comes back out the door, goes outside, and there's a big ass adult wolf there. And he realizes that the end of the book is him going outside and meeting this wolf who's like grown. And he realizes that's the wolf pup that he saved a long time ago. And that's how we know that he's missed like years. And there's like a time that the book ends with it's been like 2 years. That'd be kind of fun. I'm really enjoying this book, says Starquake, but I'm waiting for the world to open up, like in Words of Radiance, for example. I agree with you. I do agree with that. I'm ready to. I kind of hope the school stuff is done this book, because I do think the revolutionary stuff and the like Civil War stuff is just more interesting. I think the book, it feels like James Islington felt like he had to have like a magic school part of the book, But the magic school isn't that the functioning of that magic school isn't that interesting to him, and so it's really glossed over. It's not that the school doesn't make sense; it's just that it's really glossed over how it would function, and it's not that important. But we have to spend a lot of time there because Vis is there, and so we're just kind of in a school that is sketched out more than it's drawn out. Does that make sense? Yeah, yeah. It's okay to let your character struggle. Your main character doesn't have to be the best at everything. In fact, it's the places where your characters are weak that are their most interesting things. This is anger management is his most interesting thing, right? Because it's a genuine struggle for him. It would be fine if this needed Aiden to teach him something while he teaches Aiden common, right? It would be fine for Calidus to know things Vis doesn't know that aren't just like privileged information. But for Calidus to have a class that Vis isn't as good at and Calidus helps him with. Those kind of things make characters more interesting, and this book is just missing that a little bit for me in this section. Vis is just kind of great, and he's better than everybody. And, yeah. I'm Bored says, I think it's a problem because Vis doesn't want to be at the school and is only there because his father, so the narrative gets a bit stretched. That's a good point, I'm Bored. That's a really good point. The school is a little bit beneath him. And so it's just kind of a problem that not the rising through the ranks is a problem, but also just being there in general is a problem. That's actually a really good point. I didn't think about that. But there's just that element of it where he doesn't really want to do it, right? It's sort of we've been talking about a similar thing with Shallan in Rhythm of War. I don't want to get into that. We're not spoiling other books, but just that like, do they want to do the thing that they're doing is a big part of narrative. And how long can you go forward with a character not wanting to do the thing that they're doing? At what point do they just commit? And I think that's part of it. This is what I found so fun about Vis being a character who wasn't 100% sure what he wanted in part 1 and that he like was trying to decide. In part 2 kind of drags a little bit, right? There's an element of Vis not committing to anything that is in terms of his mission and stuff. He commits to certain things and he does very good at them, but this being everywhere reluctantly. He goes to the necropolis reluctantly. He goes to the festival reluctantly. He's going to Seuss reluctantly. He was at the mansion reluctantly. He's at the school reluctantly. Like, I need there to be a location. It kind of would have been nice for Vis to be excited to go to Seuss. Dangerous and there'd be problems, but the fact that it's just another location that he doesn't actually want to go to, right? Another step forward in the plot that he doesn't want to make is, God, I'm bored. That's a really good point in this book. Interesting. Anyway, I'm going to go keep reading. Apparently I have 5 fucking chapter reactions I have to do this week, so I'm going to go do those. Let's end book club here. Thank you for joining me for a little baby book club. For Rhythm of War, for Will of the Many. We will be live on Friday with Rhythm of War. We're covering, I don't know. There's going to be some audiobook reactions going up later today, though, so enjoy those. They're very long, and they're very good. One of them is a chapter that Clarus said is her favorite audiobook reaction we've ever done. So that's fun. We will be... I have to run D&D tomorrow night for the charity game for Charity Heart, so I will not be live until hopefully Saturday with more Claire Obscure. Sorry that it's been kind of 2 weeks between Claire Obscure streams, but buying a house just kind of pushed everything aside for that. The Sunday stream for Baldur's Gate is still happening, so yeah, we're kind of doing all those similar things, but next live will be Rhythm of War. Let's do high-low. Let's do high second. Let's start with low, and then we'll go to high. Low, the school stuff didn't really work for me as much. I've said it. I made my piece. I made my case. If you disagree with me, great. I hope that you liked it more than I did, honestly. My high, the horror elements of both the ruins I thought were exceptional, and much like how a lot of the horror elements of Wheel of Time were some of my favorite elements of those books. I think that fantasy and horror lean into each other very naturally. I think that worlds with magic need a level of the misunderstood, right? And horror is just something you don't understand. the best horror is, right? It is the horror of just being out of your depth fully. And Vis, who is this character who's so confident, ending up in these two spaces where, even though he has such an understanding of will, the events and the death and the obsidian and the eyeless and all of the elements are horrifying to him because he can't process what is happening, is so well done. It's so fascinating. It was easily my favorite part of this section. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. If you like the video, like, subscribe to the channel. If you don't, hit the dislike button. Leave mean comments down below because the algorithm god is hungry and we must feed her. This episode, that algorithm goddess is Anissa. Anissa, she showed up for Vis in a way, helped him muck the stables. And, you know, I don't know that I want them to be together forever, but yeah, they should date a little bit. They should try it. Have a little high school fling. It'd be fun. If you want to follow me around the internet, you can. I'm at nerdynightly. Do something nerdy tonight. All right, smut corner time. I think that Vis and Anissa could have found some time in that barn to get down. Get down. Get into it. Also, I do... There's got to be orgies at the necropolis for the Day of the Dead, right? There's got to be graveyard orgies. They happen. Sad people act irrationally. And so I do wonder if there's like an organized orgy at the necropolis every year that like people in the know about. I could see that being a thing. Starquake says, huh? You've never had sex on top of a grave, Starquake? You've never stuck your fingers and made a hole in a freshly dug grave and then like fucked it? If you haven't, go watch our reaction to... should I spoil the movie? Thankfully not. I'm referencing a movie that came out recently that has a scene that's insane. Graveyard orgy is crazy, not gonna lie. They happen though, man. You know they happen. You know people are getting together, they're getting a little drunk, and they're having sex at the necropolis, and it's probably great. It's probably great sex. Taboo sex leads to people having like more intense feelings during it. And this video is now demonetized. Thank you to everyone who super chatted, because this video is now demonetized. Yeah. You also have to imagine like the boys in that dormitory, they are finding time to masturbate. Especially like the poor sevenths sharing a room with like 20 people. Like you're like really quietly, very slowly jerking it under a thin blanket. That's tough, man. God, I'm so glad I don't have to do that anymore. To not living in dormitory life. Hell yeah, adulthood. Let's go, brother. And with that, I'm going to end book club. I'll see you next week for the end of the book. As always, do something nerdy tonight. Thank you to the mods. Will of the many. Oh. Last thought. I really liked Reliquia being like, their individuals might have killed your father, but it was will of the many that truly killed them. And I was like, that's a banger way to drop the book title, Reliquia. Banger way to drop the book title. Bye, everybody.